Good morning, Hustle Nation. Today, we're talking about legally protecting your hustle with attorney LeTonya F. Moore. And we're getting all the way into building brands, protecting brands, laying the right infrastructures and the foundations, and everything that you need to know to take your business and or your brand to the next level. Yeah, we're getting all the way into that today. So do me a favor, go ahead and comment in the chat where you're from. Drop the name of your business and or your brand. And we're about to go in, ladies and gentlemen. If you watch this show to the very end, you're going to have a solid game plan on what's required of you to protect your brand at the basic levels all the way to the highest levels, and why that is important, ladies and gentlemen. And more so, more than that, she's also a business growth strategist. So if you're ready to scale your business and take it to that next level, then yeah, you are in the right place at the right time. So do me a favor, smash that share button, ladies and gentlemen, and let's get it started. Yo, what's up, Ultimate Hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show, the business podcast for the entrepreneur of the 21st century. And I'm your host, Cortez Hustle. Our goal is to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how the world's greatest hustlers build amazing brands, scale their businesses to incredible heights, sell more, make more, and create mass movements that impact the world. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned vet or you're sitting on the sidelines with aspirations to one day unleash your inner hustle. This show will provide the insights into how pure grit, determination, and hard work has morphed into some of the most iconic brands and personalities, and how they are moving the culture forward. You'll get a mix of solo shows featuring yours truly, as well as interviews and content from other hustlers that I either know personally, or I've learned from, or whose grind I've come to know and respect. And you'll also get exclusive recordings from our membership called Monetize My Life Academy, which you can check out at monetizemylifeacademy.com. That's a program where we go live every month with some of the best hustlers on the planet, sharing best practices on how we all can explode our brands with advanced branding and marketing tactics, business development strategies, and financial game planning necessary to build the empires we all desire. Again, that's at monetizemylifeacademy.com. If you like today's episode, chances are the hustlers you're connected to will like it as well. Share it with those in your network, and when you do, use hashtag Cortez Hustle so I can see you and hopefully give you a shout out and share you in my stories. So check out today's episode and make sure you subscribe to the feed on your favorite podcasting networks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show. I am, of course, your host, Cortez Hustle, also known as the one and only financial health mentor, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur from Monetize My Life Academy Mastermind. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're trying to figure out how to build a stronger, more robust brand using digital platforms like social media, like the internet, and you can't figure that thing out, then you might want to connect with us in our mastermind. Ladies and gentlemen, we got plans starting at just $10. And we literally cover all things digital marketing. So check out monetizemylifeacademy.com. Man, the question of the day, ladies and gentlemen, what one thing that you're passionate about that you know can impact the world? What is one thing that you're passionate about that you know can impact the world? Remember, if you enter as you answer the question, put QOTD in your answer. That way I know that you're responding to the question of the day, and you get entered into a drawing to win a free vacation. And I got to shout out Sheena Mullen. She won yesterday's vacation from engaging with the show. So check out, make sure you comment QOTD and then give your answer. What is one thing that you're passionate about that you know can impact the world? A couple quick announcements before we bring in our special guest, LeTonya F. Moore, attorney and business growth strategist. Remember, guys, you can officially join Hustle Nation. If you like the show, you like the things that we're doing on this page, then why not become a supporter for just $5 per month? You get exclusive access to our brand new private Facebook group for our supporters called Hustle Nation. where we will help you with all things hustle, in particular, the entrepreneurial mindset, in particular, your messaging and your marketing, and in particular, your money once we get you making all of that money. Also, if you have not checked out thecortezhustleshow.com, that is the blog where our shows and replays live. Go check that out after today's show, and go ahead and get your free copy of Monetize My Life, the book that will help you with 4 incredibly simple ways to turn your passions into profits. So without further ado, it is time, ladies and gentlemen. I am very new in the LinkedIn space, and not new in terms of my profile is new. My profile is 7 years old. I just don't never be on there, but I decided to, hey, get out there and mix and mingle. And I saw this young lady's profile, and I was like, man, that is the type of person that I need to be introducing to the St. Louis, the Hustle Nation. So without further ado, I want to introduce attorney and business growth strategist, Miss LeTonya F. Moore. Top of the morning to you, sis. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, listen, before we dive all the way in and get into who you are and all that kind of stuff, we love to start the show off with a quote of the day. So if you got a favorite quote, you could share that. Or if you want to chime in on this one, you're welcome to do that as well. So today's quote of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show is, never wish for more than what you are willing to work for. And that is from Inky Johnson, motivational speaker. Never wish for more than what you are willing to work for. Why? Because you wasting your time, man. If you're not willing to put in the work, you can wish all you want. The good book says faith without works is dead, ladies and gentlemen. So you can wish, hope, dream, fantasize all you want. If you are not willing to put in the work, then you, my friend, are wasting your time with the wish in the beginning. LeTonya, you got a favorite quote, or you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, it's funny. My dad used to always tell us, never let them see you sweat, never let them see you cry. And I think, now that I think about it, it was probably sexist. But as a 70s kid, right? You just don't know. But one of the things I've learned from that is really how to move, not just, having worked in corporate America, but also on this entrepreneurship grind, right? It really has given me the opportunity to build upon, you got to show up, right? Whether you sad, whether you hurt, at the end of the day, you got to show up, and you got to show up at the top of your game.
Love it. That is the quote of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, brought to you by Miss LeTonya F. Moore. She's got a great program on blueprint, creating the blueprint or bulletproofing your brand. So we're going to talk about that here in a second. But before we do, LeTonya, why don't you tell the people who the heck is LeTonya F. Moore?
Well, like you mentioned, I'm a former government attorney. I'm also a business growth strategist. I work with service-based and product-based businesses. The last probably year or so with COVID, I have been working, I've done a major pivot because I've been working a lot with the operation side of people's business, helping them get up, running quick. Because, in crisis, that's what you got to do. Yeah. I am also a 4th generation entrepreneur. I am very passionate about that. But the sad part, and I know we'll probably get into this at some point, is that nobody handed me a business, right? So although I'm a 4th generation entrepreneur, everybody at each generation had to start over. My personal goal is that, when I'm on the other side of the earth, that, my son and his soon, whenever he have kids, right? Yeah. They don't have to do that. They don't have to start over. They will be working from a head start. And so I'm passionate about that. And the entrepreneurs that I work with are very passionate about that, because a lot of them are just like me. Absolutely,
man. Legacy is important. And I think we are really coming into the place of understanding exactly how important that is. But you being a Black woman, law school, corporate America, before we get into the entrepreneurship side, I have a lot of folks who are in entrepreneurship, but still working their corporate jobs. And I would love for you to, if you can, just a couple things of helping, especially our sisters, understand how to navigate that space without losing themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very difficult, right? Because we have to wear a lot of masks, right? We have to figure out what's our hair going to look like. Are we too dark? Right?
Yeah,
Let's just be honest, right?
that's a real
Are
thing.
we too dark? Are we too loud? Are we too curvy? Are we too intimidating? If we ask a question, like, there's always these scripts that are running in our heads. One of the things that I would say to the sisters that you got your side hustle that like, okay, this is really my main thing, but I'm just working this job. This is what I tell everybody. It made it easier for me when I saw my job as my investor. Right. I'm like, you know what? I'm here. I'm putting in this sweat equity because, the government is investing in my business. Right. And it made it easier. It made it easier for me to cope going in every day, knowing that I didn't want to be there. And I'm talking about years of this. I'm not talking about, a couple of months. It did make it easy. One of the things that I will say is that start thinking about what transition looks like. Right. Because the reality of things is that we stay as long as we do because we are just not sure that financially we can hold it down and keep our lifestyle and take care of our kids and, give them the things that we would like for them to have. And that's why we stay. Right. As Black women, we endure a lot because we're thinking about so many other people. I want to keep that, but I also want to say, think about you. Because nothing positive is going to happen for the rest of these people that you're thinking about if you don't have yourself together. My business partner says something, and he did an entire teaching on this, and it was absolutely phenomenal. He talks about being a public success and a private failure, where you got the corporate job, you got everything, right? On the outside looking in, people are like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. She has it all together, but then you get off work and you sit in your car for 30 minutes because you crying, right? You're completely pieces. And the moral behind that is we have so self-neglected that we are crumbled and we don't know what to do. So my biggest advice is think about you, think about your happiness, think about what you want, but also have a transition plan so that you can make sure that you're in a financial situation to take care of all of your obligations.
Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, I think for me, before I was able to do the full-time entrepreneurship thing, I thought duty. It's like I got a God-given duty to provide and protect my family. And one of the ways I provide is through this job. And then as I got into entrepreneurship, I was like, man, this job is going to fund this business project and as well as allow me to provide and protect for my family. Talk about, the corporate thing, but before the corporate thing, there was a school thing. Let's go back to that. Did you do a predominantly white institution or for undergrad and then law school? How did that play out? Because if it is, I always ask my sisters who got those degrees from those predominantly white, same question. There is a group of young Black women who are in these institutions that are not built for us, but we got to figure out how to best utilize and make it through and take the best from it. So was that your case as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I realized, well, first of all, undergrad and law school, right? I realized that the institution wasn't built for me, but I'm the type of person that, if I'm there, it's because I'm supposed to be. So you can decide if you're not going to teach them because I'm in the room, or you're going to decide if you're going to teach me too, because I'm going to learn it whether you teach me or not. Right. And that's the part of us as Black people that I love, because we're so industrious. If it's something we want to know, we're going to learn it, we're going to figure it out, and we're going to succeed. And so for me, that was really what it was. Like they're the ones that had the choice to make. I'm here for what I'm supposed to be here for. And you can decide whether or not you don't want them to learn anything, because I'm learning.
I love it. I love it. And I think sometimes we that attitude and that spirit, they've been trying to beat it out of us for the last 500 years, right? To no success. And thank God, man, because I can't tell you how much joy I get seeing that fight and that fire in you. But at some point, when you were you always the entrepreneur? Like, I know you're fourth generation. Did it start as a kid? Were you doing hair, selling candy at school? Or was it after you got into adulthood that you said, okay, let me pick up where, the family roots are as in entrepreneurship?
It's so funny because my dad, so my father's been an entrepreneur for over 30 years, right? So because of that, we grew up around it. What's interesting though is that, I did kind of sell a little candy at school. I was always the person, like, if I wanted something and my parents were like, I'm not paying for it, I'm like, oh, okay. I figured out a way, sell something, do something, to get that money. But in college, so just another fun fact about me, I had my son when I was in high school. So going into college with that responsibility, my parents said, okay, we're going to help you, right? Which they did. I absolutely could not have done this without them. But at the same time, it's like, you got to get a job. Like, listen, here's where the extra money is going. So you gonna have to figure the rest of this out. And so me and my friends, we could cook, right? A lot of the boys, they was used to their moms cooking. So we charged them $10 a plate. I mean, we made our money. We cooked, we did hair, whatever it took, right? To get that extra money. So yeah, I figured that out like very, very early. You got to always have something that is going to supplement, because otherwise you may end up in the doghouse.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit something, and we got to go there because you brought that up out of your background. And we can't gloss over that, because there's somebody who is 16 and pregnant right now, 17 and pregnant right now. And as much as it hurts me to say this, somebody has spoken into and over that child's life, saying that their life is over because of what they deem a mistake, right? How were your parents in that situation? And then talk about the resolve and speak to that 16, 17, 20, 25-year-old who's got a baby and they weren't quite planning on this. And how do they not feel that it's over, it's a wrap because you had a baby?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's so much to unpack.
Yeah. And I know we're gonna get to the entrepreneurship stuff, y'all, but this is good meat right here. And because I know so many, I got a cousin and I've been telling her that your story, man, is so amazing and could bless so many lives. Let me help you do an ebook. Let me help you put together a course, because you could change lives. And I want to take this moment and because you're an attorney and a successful entrepreneur and business coach who was a teenage mom, right? So talk about that.
Yeah. So as far as my parents, my father really didn't say anything, which made it worse. Right? It's one of those things. It's like silence. You don't really know if is it anger, is it disappointment, is it hurt? Like, it is all of a sudden he gonna go off. Like, you don't know. So my father really never said anything initially. Now my mother was incredibly vocal.
Okay.
Right? She was, because the backdrop, just to give you guys a little bit, like, I was the first person in my family to go to college. Like, I was the person, at the time, like, now we got a bunch of people, but at the time, I was the first person to go to college. I always talked about being a lawyer. So my mother saw this, exactly what you said, is like, here we are right here, so that was like her thing, because my mom, she went from living with her grandmother to being married. Like, she didn't have that separate, that separation to live as just a single woman, and those were the things that she wanted for us. And so I understand, like, that's where her disappointment came from. So a lot of the things that these young ladies have heard or have been spoken over them, you don't have to be honest. Some of those things were spoken over me as well. But here's where I had to get to. And I believe in my heart, this was really a God thing for me. This was more spiritual than anything, because in my heart, I said, that's not going to be me though.
Right.
You're telling me about, Tina, Sheila, Renee, but I'm LeTonya. And so I'm going to make it regardless. Like, in my mind, I wasn't talking back, but I said, I'm going to make it. So I knew in my heart that I was going to make it, and I was going to do whatever it took. If that meant I was going to have to strap that baby to my back, like we were going to get it done. You know, if that meant that I couldn't go away to school, like this was going to happen because I had no plan B. Like it wasn't no other plan. It just wasn't another plan. So as far as that, one of the things that I will also say, and I really want everybody to hear this because it's not just in this context. There is so much power in shame. Shame is such a powerful emotion because what happens is we have been taught that if you are in this situation, the rest of your life is over. And you know what? I am not unique. I could probably think of 4 or 5, 6, maybe even 10 lawyers that are just like me. They had babies in high school and now they're like super women, right? I think part of that is why we end up being super women because we want so bad to distance ourselves from that narrative. And I realized that about 10 years ago, right? Like, why am I doing all of this? And I realized that narrative that had been spoken over me, I was trying to run from that narrative. And I said, you know what? I'm going to embrace it. This is who I am. My son, he's a grown man. He's in information technology. He doesn't have any children. He's a homeowner. He's self-sufficient. And I'm like, you know what? We did good. You know, we did great. And I think that that's the place that you have to get to that place where you say, you know what? I understand that that's a possibility, but that's not going to be my story.
Yeah, I love it. And own it. Like, this is okay. I can build from here. I have a saying that I like to say that life is short, but it's also incredibly long. Because what people will say is, man, it's over. It's like, man, okay, even if I raise this child to 21 years old and I go to law school, then I still got 40 years to be an attorney, right? So it's amazing how, and a lot of times, like you said, these are people who love us and they read the same statistics that we read that, oh, if you're a teen mom, then you probably have never finished college and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, but glad they stepped up and helped you get through it. And so what we got to do now is time for our 1 minute motivation segment. So LeTonya, this is where we'll play a short 1 minute motivation clip. And then you give a takeaway. I give a couple takeaways. The audience always comments some good meat as well. And one of the reasons I love it, is because I'm a huge advocate for personal growth and self-development, and also helping people to understand that everything you consume is personal growth and self-development. It might just be growing you in the wrong direction, right? But the second reason is I'm always fascinated by how all of us are going to hear the same clip, but none of us will hear the same thing, right? And I think that's fascinating to me. So right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, the LeTonya F. Moore version of 1 minute motivation. Let's get into it.
You have within you what it'll take for you to go do something great in your life. But you got to get yourself in a positive cocoon where you make some fundamental decisions in your life. You're a force of nature. You're somebody great. You were put on this earth to make a difference.
And I'm telling you that the way that you were made, the way that you are now is beautiful or handsome, and that you're enough. And that once you can finally acknowledge the fact that you're enough, that you're beautiful and gifted and special and made in the image of this higher place, right? That once you can acknowledge that, you're going to be very, very happy. All your confidence, all your happiness, all the things you want to achieve in your life come from when you understand that you are made perfect the way you are. Doesn't mean we don't want to improve things in our life and chase the next version of us and all that, but the you that exists now is enough, and that you have everything within you right now to make your dreams happen, to be happy.
Hoo-wee. Listen, so ladies first, give me one takeaway that you heard.
Wow, I just keep hearing you are enough.
Man.
You really are enough. And I think that so many people need to not just hear it though. They need to just get it like all deep in their bones, right? They need to really hold on to that and believe it. Because I think a lot of the things that we deal with really stem from the fact that we don't think that we're enough. We don't understand how valuable we are. And we don't need that external validation.
Yeah, that's the first thing that jumped out at me. My wife and I have this conversation about how we pray different, and my son is away at school, and he just basically walked onto the basketball team after leaving another school because he felt he'd have a better opportunity to play ball here. But it didn't work out his first year, but now, he's getting the respect and all. She's like, you don't ever pray that he gets, that he finds favor and all of that stuff. I said, no, because I believe that everything that God has done for us, he already did it. And it's already in there. And him not playing last year is what drove him to improve. And now so I don't have to ask any special favors. And I think a lot of times we get caught up in asking God all the time for the possible. God is in the impossible business. He's not in the possible business. There's certain things you can do on your own. So you are enough, believing, making decisions, man. Sometimes we just don't decide and not realizing that too is a decision. Man, I know one thing about wealthy people is this. They are quick to make a decision and slow to change their mind about that decision. Poor and middle class people tend to take forever to make a decision, and they're quick to change their mind about that decision. And it's not always the right decision, but I know successful people will make the decision right. So decide and know that you are enough. So that is the LeTonya F. Moore version of 1 Minute Motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. So let's dive in, man. Entrepreneurship. I like to teach that there's 3 main reasons that I love entrepreneurship, and I think everybody should give it a whirl. Number 1, I think it's time that we teach our children something different. I am not a hater of education and knowledge. I am a hater of our educational system, though. I think that fulfillment and purpose is another reason entrepreneurship should be high on the list. And then number 3 is taxes, right? I think the number 1 wealth building tool in the world is the U.S. tax code when you know how to use it. So your journey from corporate America to doing your own thing, and then from doing your own thing to all of these other entrepreneurs recognizing your genius, what was that walk like for you?
Whew, let me tell you, it was like walking on hot coals. And I'm going to tell you why, because one of the things that I didn't know, because here's the thing, right? I want to share some things that I didn't know because I don't want anybody listening to do this real quick. Yeah. I didn't understand the value of a coach and a mentor who knew what they were doing. Let me say that, right? Yeah. Not just anybody, right? I didn't realize the value of that. I looked at my own business the way that everything else run, things that I learned in corporate, things that I learned, watching my father, and being a part of dad, right? There was some horrible business practices. Horrible. Yeah. Nobody taught them. They didn't know. They really understood, it's been a good hustle, right? For 30, 40 years, because that's what you've been doing. You haven't been building a business. You just literally have been making money. Yeah. And so when I first started, that was my backdrop, right? As long as you're making money, you're good. But then coming into things, like you said, understanding the tax code, I ended up meeting the person who is my CPA, and he was like, what have you been doing? Right. And I was like, what do you mean? And he literally sat me down like, friend. I mean, he was like this. I'm not even being dramatic. I'm just reenacting the scene. and he walked me through starting from here forth. This is what you need to do. And this is why. And so I've been operating off of that. And so as my business grows, we have another conversation, right? Okay, now that you're here, right? Now we need to do this. And so as my business has grown, he's been guiding me through a lot of those challenges that I didn't know about. The other thing that I realized is that I never knew about growing a business, right? Not just from the tax code, but from marketing. I didn't understand marketing. I didn't understand branding. And it's so interesting because one of the things I was like, well, how many lawyers is it out here? you know, 50, 100,000, right? I was literally saying this to myself, and I was like, I got to figure out something that's going to set me apart. Not really understanding that what God was showing me is you need to understand branding.
Right.
You need to understand marketing. And my good friend, my best friend, she used to work for the Cochran firm, not the California one, but the one in Alabama. Had the opportunity to meet him. And I love to tell this story because it stuck with me. I was like, okay, you know, I'm thinking about going out on my own, but it's so many lawyers, you know, because you get your one question. That was my one question. One of the things that he said was, you know, if you're the best, why does it matter? Essentially, that was essentially his advice, right? It doesn't matter who else is in the pool if people know you. And that stuck with me. Like, it literally stuck with me like, oh, well, yeah. Because he was just sort of like, you know, name some criminal lawyers, you know, right? It's like Johnny, you know, it's you, right? Yeah. But there are other people. But the point is, there are tens and hundreds of thousands of criminal lawyers, but there are probably about 5 that will immediately pop out of your head if someone asks you name a criminal lawyer.
Right.
And probably not anybody in your local community. So that's really what started. That's really what started my journey. And I've been fortunate to be in the room with people like that. And I don't have a problem raising my hand, asking questions and all of that, because I need to know. I had the opportunity to do an interview with Dr. George Frazier, and he was like, "You just need to get in the room." I was like, "I just need to get in the room." He's like, "You just need to get in the room, and you need to make sure that when you get in the room, you're in the right room." You know, he's a man of few words, but it's like those words are like impactful. So I'm saying all that to say these are all principles that I started to learn. Like, okay, I need to brand myself. I need to be in the right room. I need to associate with the right people. I need to be on the cutting edge. I need to be doing something that these other lawyers aren't doing, don't know how to do, aren't willing to do. I need to be the person doing that, because now I'm serving a need in a niche that is going unfulfilled if I don't do it. So these are all things that I learned over the years, and it has done me well.
I love it. I love it. Because I think one of the things that we really get caught up in is looking at competition, right? We like you did, you looked at everybody else around you. And I like to say there's the problem isn't that everybody else is doing it. The problem is you trying to do it like everybody else. See, we all have our authentic place in this world, and there's a set group of people that will only buy from you, that will only rock with you, that will only follow you, but if they only know you exist, right? And I think that is one of the hugest problems that a lot of entrepreneurs have, especially our Black-owned businesses. And while a lot of them have thrived, a lot of them, when COVID hit, saw themselves scrambling because they had no online presence. They couldn't pivot fast enough. They're not building email lists. And I'm like, wow, I had no clue. So talk about some of the foundational principles that you teach when it comes to building a brand. First, give your definition of a brand, and then what could entrepreneurs do to do it better?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, my definition of a brand is having a strong, iconic business identity. That means that no matter who hears it, right, they are at least familiar.
Gotcha.
Right. It's that opportunity for your name to be in rooms and people say, Cortez Hustle. I've heard of him. That's a brand, right? Yeah. That's how I see it. You know, it's interesting when I think about foundational principles, and here are some things, right? You got to operate in integrity. Number one, right? Yeah. Integrity, be authentic. But my product-based businesses, it wasn't just the online presence, because you could get a Shopify in a day or two, right? But it was also capacity, right? You want to be $1 million business, but your inventory, even if you sold it all, might be $2,000-$3,000. Right. And you don't have the capacity to get it up to meet the demand. right? That's a huge problem in our business, right? You have people with excellent products. Let me tell you, yesterday, and I posted about this for any of you that follow me. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of being a part of a panel with Walmart. Again, you got to be in the right rooms. They were literally saying, yeah, if you got a shelf ready, if you have a shelf ready product, this is what you need to do to get in Walmart.
Wow.
The stores, Walmart Marketplace, Walmart online, and they coming for Amazon.
That's right.
But you know what? Out of probably about 70 people, I could count about 6 people look like me. And they all looked like me, which means there were no Black men there.
Wow.
Not one.
Wow.
Out of 70 people. Not one.
Wow.
Not one. What's the point that I'm trying to make? Is that one of the foundational things is get in the right place. Stop running behind all of these people that's got 12 steps to $1 million. Listen, stop doing that, because it's not about the money. If you run your own race, the money is going to come. But you have to ask yourself, do you want to just make money, right? Or do you want to build something that is sustainable? Because if you want to build something that is sustainable, you got to get your hands dirty. You got to invest. It's as simple as that. This ain't going to be free. No shape, form, or fashion is it ever going to be free. The money is not just in your product. The money is also investing in your business and getting the right advisors on your team. I've been on teams, Cortez, where they've said, LeTonya, girl, I got $1,000. Like, listen, if you just ride with me, if you just go with me, I promise you, like, I got you, right? And I've done it. And I've done it because I see the passion, I see the drive, I see their track record. They have social proof that they have been doing this, and they just need these 1 or 2 things. And it's like, okay, so I'm gonna give you the opportunity to, and we're gonna operate off integrity, right? I'm gonna give you the opportunity. What am I saying? You gotta take the risk, but you gotta come with something, right? You don't just show up and say, this is what I'm trying to do. No, you have to come with something. You have to build a team. Now, equity is the name of the game, right? That's the thing. You have people that want you to help them build their business, and they want you to help them do all this, but it's just like, but I don't want to give up no ownership. We need to talk. And so I'm saying that to say, these are some principles, though, some foundational principles that we need to understand. We need to understand the value of equity. Just very quickly, even if you give up equity, listen, you can negotiate that after so many years, there's a buyout. So you get that back. You can negotiate where if the person wants to sell their interest, you get first dibs. Like, there's so many ways that you can do it. We have to understand the power of leverage. You have to leverage what you need. And no, I'm not talking just business credit, but you can leverage that too. I'm really talking about leveraging these relationships so that you can put your business in the best possible position from the start instead of fixing it when it's broken.
Yeah, I love that. And I actually had Dr. Fraser on the show earlier this week. And, he's all about relationship capital and networking. And that's a huge, I think, underrated and underutilized form of wealth, especially in our community, because we typically approach relationships transactional. It's like, man, what can I get out of this deal versus service? Really quickly, guys, question of the day. Name the one thing you're passionate about that can impact the world. The one thing that you're passionate about and that can impact the world. If you put QOTD and your question, you get entered into a drawing to win a free vacation. And we do those drawings every Wednesday at noon Central Time. So you are also, I love the way you talked about getting in the right room and also being prepared to be in the right room, because they said, hey, who's got a shelf ready product? And sometimes we don't understand the power in investing in that infrastructure to create that, right? We might not have the right label, and we are selling stuff in Ziploc bags because we don't want to spend the money on professional packaging, right? And that is hurting our businesses. So we've got creative genius, we got the ideas, but like I said, you got to go ahead and put your skin in the game and be willing to take some risks. If you guys got a question for LeTonya, go ahead and drop your question in the chat. I also want to talk about, in my case, this is my personal case, so you can help me as a case study. So I have always understood brand. It's like when Facebook first came out with Facebook Live, I said, there it is. I can do me a TV show right here on the internet. That was my thought process, is I'm going to do segments. I'm going to do commercial breaks. I'm going to run my Facebook Live like a for real show. And I did that. And that's kind of the first iteration of what is now this show. But I know that there are some things that we need to be doing, especially as intellectual property creators, to protect the brand. So what are some things that I should be thinking about as I protect the Cortez Hustle Show, the St. Louis Hustle Podcast, the brand, my intellectual property, and things of that nature?
Well, the first thing is understanding the platforms that you're on, right? Because because we're talking about it, like Facebook Live, right? So let's take Facebook, whatever platform your podcast is on, all of those platforms have rules. The majority of them will tell you are giving them a non-exclusive perpetual license. So what does that mean? That means that they have the authorization to make money off of your intellectual property in exchange for you using this platform. Facebook, for example, like a lot of the platforms, they own the content that's on the platform, meaning that you have to ask them about certain things. Okay, not that you can't use it. These are things that we have to understand, right? You really have to understand that. The other thing too, of course, we all know about the trademarks and the copyrights. The great thing about media and books and all of these sorts of things is that essentially, there's been some Supreme Court decisions that kind of chipped away at this, but essentially, you do have a certain level of ownership once you produce it, right? Once the product is made manifest. So that's kind of the threshold. If it's just in your head or it's an idea, no. But once you make it manifest, right, then there are some protections that are there, right? The Supreme Court a couple years ago has kind of chipped away at that a little bit, which in essence it says, but if you want to sue, you have to have formally filed. That's where people get messed up, right? Okay. It wasn't like that before. It could just be, you could come forth with a common law claim, right? Which basically says, I've been using this. Everybody knows it. I was doing it first, and then this person came. Right. Now there's a minimum threshold that you have to have at least filed. So there's a lot more obligations now. And filing is not enough. After you file, you get approved. You have to review it. You have to continue to use it in commerce. You have to continue to police it, right? And what I tell people is you have to look at trademarks like you do a piece of real estate. You don't just buy it and leave.
Right.
Right. You got to keep it up. You got to make sure the wind didn't blow a tree on the roof. Like, you have to continuously do that. Right. You have insurance on that property, which to me, insurance is when you hire companies, whether it's a law firm or someone else, to monitor your portfolio. Right. Guess what? Intellectual property is a portfolio, just like your stocks and mutual funds. People just don't think about that. Right. Depending on how valuable they are, you can mortgage them. You can license them. And all of that, a license is essentially a lease, right? And a right to use. It can be a lot more valuable than real estate because you can then turn around and license to a whole bunch of different people at one time. So you can create lots of income from that, but you have to be careful about the platforms that you're using and the limitations and where you're putting it.
Gotcha. I love that because that's what I see as my thing was always, okay, I'm not worried about an idea. I'm such a creative genius. And it's like, man, okay, somebody take that and I'm just going to be right back in the game with something new. But that's not right thinking, because why would I allow someone to take something that I've built and invested into, and now they can build up on top of that? So I know now that, okay, let's get in the game and let's really do this thing the right way. Because I'm serious about building a media empire that will rival Ted Turner and Walt Disney one day, right? I'm looking at a Joe Rogan 9-figure exclusive deal with Spotify. I'm like, that kind of stuff exists. I just got to keep building, but I want to make sure that I have the foundation right to make sure that we can get in the right rooms to negotiate those kinds of deals. So I love that you said that. Talk about pricing though, when it comes to trademarks and copyrights and all that, because I think that was one of the things that holds me back, man. First, I want to learn it myself. And then if I don't have the time to learn it, then, okay, now the price comes in. So is it, I mean, I know it's worth it, but price wise, when it comes to an attorney, right, you guys have the stigma that y'all gonna charge an arm and a leg. That's why people would try to go to a legal Zoom and do it themselves. But let's talk about pricing as it relates to really protecting your stuff.
Well, from a trademark standpoint, yes, there is that stigma there. Here's what I tell people, right? If it takes you a year, let's say 6 months to learn something, right? Versus paying, you know, $1,500 to $2,000. That's kind of standard, right?
Yeah.
Is it really worth it? Like, would you work a job for 6 months for $1,500? Like, no. I mean, think about it, right? It's to me, it is preposterous that people do this. Well, you know, I've been trying to do this trademark for 2 years. So let's look at this now, right? You're talking about all this time. And here's the thing that you're running against that people don't think about. The other people that are watching that's willing to pay that $1,500, that's willing to pay that $2,000 to get there first. Right? While you getting ready, while you trying to learn. Here's the thing. You don't need to try to learn. Listen, there's some things about finances I don't know. So guess what? I'm not going to say I'm going to learn. I'm going to call Cortez and say, let me get on your calendar because it's this. And that's one of the foundational principles that I learned. Now, let me say this. You need to know enough to be able to check behind everybody that's working for you, because you need to be able to see and determine, okay, something ain't right. Even if you don't know what it is, you know that something isn't right. Because think about it like this. What if Bill Gates said, well, I need to be the only one writing code? I don't want no other coders coming in.
Right. Yeah.
You know, other people, other persuasions, they don't think like that. Their objective is to work through people because that's how you grow. The more people you can work through, the more, you know, the more you can grow, the more you can scale. That's the whole premise of scaling. Now, in terms of, it depends, right? Now, what I do, because I work with some businesses that are on the smaller side, even though a lot of them are multi-million dollars, they're still considered very small businesses. So one of the things that I've kind of taught them or given them is like, okay, these are the things that you do to kind of just, you know, make sure you have somebody doing these duties and responsibilities. So they don't pay us for that. That's not a, you know, it's not an extra cost for them. And it's things around policing the mark, right? Making sure, but when you see something, I tell them, they already know, like when you see something, this is what you do. It's like 5 steps before we have to get involved. Because they're working with us. And so, I mean, they already paying me for something else. Why wouldn't I tell them these are some things that you need to do? You don't have to pay us for that, because this is something that, look, we train your people, whoever's going to be doing it, and this is a part of their duties and responsibilities. That's just how we work. Everybody doesn't work like that. And it goes back to what we talked about prior to getting on, because I am personally moving my company inside of businesses versus outside. So versus it just being, we're just contract counsel. Now we're business partners with these growth businesses, because we provide a multitude of services, but also connections with networks, right? That people need to get into. And so it just makes sense for us to have that business partner relationship.
I love that, because I think that's one of the things that we have to get better at as a culture. Is monetization is not just that transaction. Hey, you're going to hire me. This is my hourly rate. This is what we're going to do. There are 1,000,001 ways that we can build relationships that are mutually beneficial. And from your standpoint, as I'm growing from solopreneur to starting to put a team in place and that kind of stuff, why would you not want me to be able to make money so I can pay your invoice, right? And I think people miss that. It's like, okay, if you're gonna hire a coach, a mentor, and they're charging for their services, they want you to be successful, because if you can't make money, you can't even afford me. So they're going to create situations where it's mutually beneficial for everybody. We do have a question in the comments. Wichita Cheesecake Company says, how valuable is the use of NDAs when collaborating or doing joint ventures with others?
An NDA could be valuable. I would suggest the non-compete or non-circumvent, which is because the non-compete says, you know, you're not going to go out, you're not going to take the idea and go out and become my competitor. The non-circumvent says you're not going to, quote, circumvent me and go deal directly with the vendor. Because the reality of things is the NDA, I mean, it is a protection, but when you're talking about collaborators and joint ventures, you definitely want to have that confidentiality, but you also want to be able to prevent them from being able to compete and circumvent.
Yeah, I love that. Great answer, because it's a lot of times we're collaborating with people who have greater resources at times. And it's like, man, I can expose you to something that was not even on your radar. But because you're so resourceful, because your money is a little bit longer, then yeah, you can just go right around me, go straight to the vendor, and boom. Speed to market is something that is very important. Before we get out of here and you tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, LeTonya, we do a very, very special segment on the show called Freestyle, because I know you got bars, Queen. I know you got bars, right? So no, we're not putting into music, and you don't have to say,
I want people to keep watching your show.
You don't have to say the words in rhythmic fashion and make every word rhyme. But freestyle is where we simply talk about, give you 90 seconds to wherever this conversation has not yet evolved. As I'm building this empire, I'm not always the best at interviewing and asking the right questions, but I want you to be able to share whatever's on your heart, whatever's on your mind that you think would be beneficial to our audience listening. Most entrepreneurs are aspiring entrepreneurs and trying to figure out how to start, grow, or scale a business and make it all work. So this is Freestyle on the Cortez Hustle Show, the LeTonya F. Moore edition.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So one of the things that I really want to share with all of you is the importance of setting yourself apart, the importance of standing out. And it's really what I was talking about being authentic, being the best you that you can be, being the top of your game. Don't be concerned with what other people are doing. What is it that's on the inside of you? One of the major principles that I teach the people that I mentor is becoming the obvious choice in their industry, right? And what that means is when people, I'll use myself as an example. When people were looking for lawyers, and like I said, one of the things I realized, how do I set myself apart? I started saying, protect your brand, right? I started saying that a long time ago. I protect your brand. I work in brand protection. And I started talking to people about what that looks like holistically, not just from an intellectual property or contract standpoint, but some of these other things that we've talked about, right? And that quickly caught fire because it gave people an opportunity to say, oh, that's the protect your brand lady. Just quick story. I had an opportunity to go to London and someone was about to introduce me to someone. And she says, no. I know her. That's the protect your brand lady. Right. And I became the protect your brand lady. Right. And I leaned all the way into that. You have to create your moniker. Who are you? What do you represent in the marketplace? And once you know what you represent authentically, in the marketplace, lean all the way into that and do not let that go, because that is going to be the thing that defines who you are and what you do.
Love it, love it, love it. That is freestyle right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, the LeTonya F. Moore version. So what you got going on, sis? How can everybody connect with you? What are some of the big projects? How can you help people who want to work with you? Give them all your details.
Yeah, absolutely. So they can connect with me across social media at LeTonya Moore. I'm on pretty much every single social media outlet. So you can definitely connect with me there. My website is iprotectyourbrand.com. So you can go there and connect with me. I'm working on a couple of projects for business owners. We do have a mentorship program. We have a couple of different ones. One is the Jumpstart, where, you're just kind of trying to get it going in 90 days. We also have some lengthier ones, 6 months, a year, where, again, we're working with you as a business partner actually in your business. And when I say we, it's the network, right? It's not just me or just some coach that works with us. We really work with people to build and solidify and grow their business. So we're very excited about that. Our latest cohort now, I think they're at about almost 800,000 collectively during the pandemic in terms of sales, both product and service-based businesses. So we're very proud of all of their accomplishments.
Love it, love it, love it. You guys are listening to and learning from attorney LeTonya F. Moore, business growth strategist and attorney, and she is the I Protect Your Brand lady. So before we get out of here real quick, I always do my answer to the question of the day towards the end of the show. So let me see who answered the question of the day today. Danielle says victory in sustaining abstinence program, reproductive education. Oh, she's going to do some things that will impact the world big time. And guys, when you put QOTD, it makes it easier for me to find your response, not just get you into the quote of the day or the vacation giveaway. Lakeisha says, my crafts, painting, and mentorship will change the world, teaching people to live their best life according to their view, not the status quo. Amari. Let's see, who else? NFTs, William H. Boyd. We'll have to get you back on. Are you doing any work in the NFT space?
In the what space?
In the NFT space, the non-fungible tokens for creators. All right, cool. All right, so guys, the reason I asked that question is because when you find and identify that one thing that you're passionate about, that you know will change the world, then the money will start chasing you. See, the money chase impact. It doesn't necessarily chase transactions. You have to lean into, like LeTonya said, that thing that sets you apart. All my life, LeTonya, even my wife would say, man, when we were at high school, you were just weird, right? And I had to learn how to lean into that because I'm the guy, I'm always in my own thoughts, in my own head, no matter where I am in the world. So when you look at me, you can see I'm not here because I'm always in the future, right? And I had to lean into that because guess what? That's what my superpower is, imagination and vision. But because I wasn't aware of that as a young man, I was that weird dude, right? And I didn't have a response for that. I was like, well, yeah, I probably am weird. But now I understand that it is that vision, it is that imagination that will impact the world. And now the money is starting to chase me because of that superpower. So that is the 1 minute, the question of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. Find that one thing that you are passionate about that can impact the world. I heard my brother Evan Jefferson say earlier today, it's not about what makes me the most money, what makes the most impact. And I promise the world will come running. So that's it for today's show, guys. We've been listening to and learning from LeTonya F. Moore, business growth strategist and attorney, the Protect Your Brand lady. Until we talk to you guys next time, we want you to get your money up because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Now hustle up. But you've got to overcome fear if you're going to win.
You're tuned into the Cortez Hustle Show.